So today is the day after our last quiz of the third quarter. It was a quiz that had to do with similar triangles, the three. Actually, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, we actually took the quiz a week ago, but I'm just grading them now. So it was a quiz that had to do with how you prove triangles are similar. And unfortunately, there's not going to be any retakes on it because of the timing of the quiz. So I said numerous times, make sure you study for the quiz. Make sure you look things over Sunday night before the quiz. And I'm not sure we did. So a little frustrated right now. So this is a little bit of a message, not only for my old kids, but the new kids that came in. So this really only applies to this year, 2023-24. I hope you watch this video and I hope you understand this class is going to be challenging. I know you didn't have a teacher in the last class for a long time, and I'm not sure how that worked out with the material you were covering, but I'll tell you right now, this is going to be a challenging class. You have got to put your own time into it outside of class. So I'm sure we'll go over that in class as well. So on the quiz, there was one particular problem that a lot of people missed. And it was the most frustrating one because, again, I said look things over Sunday night before the quiz. You don't get retakes. So I told you that many, many times. And we missed that question when we probably went over that at least 6 times, I'm guessing, in class. So I'm about to go through and show you how many times we've seen that problem. So there was something similar to this. Oh, I don't really want to do that. We'll do it here. There was a figure similar to this. It had markings there. I explained that, and we've been over that many times. That wasn't new. I explained that that means those two lines are parallel. I even drew out for you the old lesson that we did, two parallel lines and a transversal. I went through the whole old lesson quickly and explained about parallel lines and transversals creating a lot of similar, or I'm sorry, congruent angles. So that's congruent to that. That's congruent to that. So I pretty much redid that entire lesson. We even talked about vertical angles in it. So we said, so there's a whole bunch of congruent angles. No questions. Nobody said a thing. So then I repeated that same lesson probably 3 or 4 more times every time we saw a problem where we had this right here. We have two parallel lines. That right there is telling me that they're parallel. And then I would review this lesson, how we did parallel lines in a transversal, or at least ask that question. So it meant, again, in this particular figure, so for this particular figure, because those lines were parallel, we said, oh, well, that means that I must have some parallel angles, blue. That angle was parallel to that. That angle was parallel to that. And we actually also said, we know angle L is an angle in both triangles. So we said there's really 3 congruent angles. And this was the lesson here. That means that it's angle, angle. If we can prove 2 angles are congruent in 2 different triangles, which we proved that just with the parallel lines, 1 pair here, 2 pair here. So we proved that already, but then really we proved all 3 of them are congruent. Then we can say the triangles are similar. So again, a ton of people missed that question. And that should have been the easiest one. We did that, I don't know how many times. So there's one time that we did that question. I'm just going to kind of count them all up for you. So if you would have reviewed, you should have seen that one. That's one time. I think, was there a problem even in the, oh, I don't, hold on. Well, if there's a problem. Nope, not a problem there. So one time. There's 2 times. So same exact thing, parallel, parallel. So I would have gone over the whole process again about parallel lines and transversals. So there's 2 of them. That one's not it. That we reviewed way back when we proved congruent. So again, I don't remember if we went over these in class, but there's 3 times, 4 times. You would have seen it because those were assigned problems from the book. So had you done the problems from the book, you would have seen it both there. And nobody came and asked me any questions about those problems. So that's 4 times it showed up. I think that's the same problem. I probably showed it, so I won't even count that one. We'll say we're still at 4. So then we came into this. I think this is not going to have it. Yeah, this is side, side, side. So we wouldn't have seen it there. Side angle, side. I think that's the same other problem, but I probably showed it again, but I'll stay at 4. So there's 4 problems still. Let's see. We actually went over this problem here in class, which turned out to be on the quiz. Same exact. Actually, there were a couple problems straight from your book that were on the quiz, by the way. I would always do the book problems because you're going to see them again on the quizzes. So nothing in there. So we're still at 4. Let's see. There, I did it again there. There's 5. I specifically did that problem. That's 5. Oh, there it is again. 6. There it is again. 7. Again, 8, 9. Kind of, we didn't really talk about angles in this, so I won't count it. Here's a similar concept. We said parallel lines create congruent angles because this was parallel lines and transversal. I even drew in the rest of that to make it look like a triangle. So I like drew this in and connected the lines so it kind of looked like a triangle down here. And I talked about how we just did that. Parallel lines would create congruent angles. So I lost count. We're up to 9 or 10 at least times that you've seen this concept. So again, if you would have gone back and reviewed it, you couldn't have missed it. There's no way if you would have reviewed that you would have missed a problem like that. It showed up over and over and over, and every time we talked about the fact that parallel lines create congruent angles. I may not have drawn in the angles on every lesson, but I talked about that other lesson. So it means that if we have congruent angles in triangles, the triangles are congruent. I'm sorry, are similar. A lot of people still made I wasn't even going to talk about this, but a lot of people still made the other mistake of just setting 2 things equal to each other. So let's see if there's a problem on this page. If not, I'll find one in the practice. Yeah, this is on mid segments of triangles. So, that's not going to have it, but I'm sure when I get the practice problems, I can find one. So again, if you would have done all these problems were assigned, if you would have done these practice problems, where did yeah, there you go. There it is again. The practice problems, very first one. Well, I think you had to prove that the lines were parallel, but still the same concept. And parallel line. I mean, it was like 12 to 15 times that concept of parallel lines popped up. Specifically related to triangles, it popped up probably 6 times. Related to like angle theorem. These aren't necessarily related to angle, but it talks about the fact that things are in proportion. We did that in class when we did the lesson and said, well, we're really just creating similar triangles because of angle. So again, it's hard for me to feel bad and want to make exceptions when we went over that so many times. And unfortunately, your guys are a lot of you are gonna have a grade that lowers your grade for the quarter. I am going to probably try to do an extra exit ticket on Wednesday, and I'm probably going to raise the value of that so that it'll help count a little bit more. And it's probably going to be on these same theorems, how to prove triangles are similar, because that really hurt a lot of people on the quiz. All right, so the other thing I just said I would show you. So like right here, for example, you see these, let's zoom in. So we're talking about proportions and similarity and how things are like the same scale factor. Like we've been talking about that since I guess we got into similar triangles. And I told you that does not mean they are equal. Things that are in proportion are not equal. They're in proportion. 1/2 is a proportion. We don't set one equal to two. If we have like the sides of a triangle, so one side is one side is in another triangle is two. Those sides may match up, but the sides are clearly not equal. One does not equal two. We would create a proportion of the two sides. Actually, let me draw that out real quick. So if I have a triangle, I'll just draw it with a line, I guess. And I'm trying to prove those are similar, and I got a 1 and a 2, and then a 1.1 and a 2.2. I don't say that I don't say 1 equaled 1.1. That's not how you create a scale factor. You don't make them equal. So if I don't, and clearly they're not equal, you can't say 1 equals 1.1. So if I don't make them equal, I wouldn't set things like this equal to each other. Just because they have a variable doesn't, well, that's the wrong one, but we'll outline that one. Just because they have the same variable does not mean you set them equal. And that's what we keep going to. So we create a proportion with the numbers. We put 1 over 2, 1.1 over 2.2. So we would put 2x plus 8 over 7x subtract 12. That's a proportion. Then we set that equal to something else. So anyway, that's a super fast review. I'm not going to redo the whole entire lesson on similar triangles. I just wanted you to see that we've been over that many times and that you've got to put some time in before a quiz, especially when I tell you there's no retakes. So you need to go back, review all of those parallel line concepts. I mean, there's really only one concept. Parallel lines create congruent angles. And if we have two congruent angles across two different triangles, then they're similar. Way back now, I'll go back to the original. And that was after angles. Right here. So again, the original concept, if you have two parallel lines, it creates congruent angles. I don't need any, like a lot of people said, oh, well, there's no information about the sides either. I don't need information about the sides. I know this angle here. I'll draw it back in, redo it. This angle here is congruent to this angle here. I know that because of the parallel lines. And then KL is a transversal. I know this angle here is congruent to this angle here. And then, I'm sorry, this angle here. I know that because of the parallel lines. There's no question there. That's a proof. We proved that out. And then I would also know L is congruent to L. That right there tells me angle. So you need to make sure and you need to make sure you can explain that using all those words, parallel lines. If you want to say transversal, that'd be even better. But basically two parallel lines, and then you need to be able to show me which angles are congruent to get credit. Because that's probably what your Wednesday exit ticket is going to be, is explain to me why these triangles are similar. And it may not be angle, it may be one of the other ones. So you also need to go over the other ones. But this is the one that I think most people missed. So side angle side and side 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 are the other two. Stop it.